very inspiring. Now folks, it's time for us to question Tommy. How do you want to start?
Folks, what I usually do at these meetings is just open up the floor. People raise their hands. The only thing I ask is you maybe give us your first name. We're all in friendly terms. You know my name, it's Tommy. So if you don't mind, you raise your hand, and there's a couple of roving mics here, and they'll come, and if you speak into the mic, you might not have to in this hall actually, but if you just raise your hand, there's a woman here.
I'm Fran. I was just wondering if you have any views on the unconditional basic income.
Any views on the, sorry, Frank?
Thank you very much.
Unconditional basic income.
Unconditional basic income? Well, the Scottish Government, I know, is talking about a living wage, which is based on the research that was conducted by Essex University and the Roundtree Foundation, which is based on needs being satisfied rather than a poverty minimum wage, where once you've got the poverty minimum wage, you still need benefit, but you can't afford the basic essentials of life. So from my point of view, Fran, what I want in an independent Scotland is I want everybody to have a basic income that means they can afford the essentials of life. They can afford to heat themselves, clothe themselves, they can afford warm clothes, they can go on holidays. You know, things that many people take for granted, but millions don't have the ability to afford. If we've got that, Fran, in an independent Scotland, the good thing is, the more people are paid, the more tax they pay as well, and the more money there is for generation for public services.
But the problem with the living wage is it doesn't have people like, you know, disabled people unable to work and things like that.
Sure, so, sorry Fran, I understand where you're coming from. The whole idea of the concept of the living wage is that the living wage becomes a living income for all citizens. So there's a citizen's income, and that citizen's income is available for pensioners, it's available for disabled citizens, and people who are unable to work. So from that point of view, I can see where you're coming from now, Fran. That is the whole concept behind the living wage, that it's a living income, regardless of whether you're working or not. Any other questions? There's a chap down the front and somebody right at the back. We've only got the one mic. Sorry folks, we've only got the one mic, so do you want to try and just
Paul, how do you feel when the street media is treated the Yes campaign? Bear in mind, me and the BBC and other street media channels.
Paul, my opinion of the treatment so far by the mainstream media of this referendum is a damn disgrace. I think they've been totally, utterly biased. I couldn't believe, you know, I mean, this is a small part of it, but you look at the coverage of the debate, I think it was about 2 weeks ago or something, the head-to-head debate, and I was amazed at the wall-to-wall coverage about, oh, how this was a knockout blow, the campaign had turned, Salmon didn't perform well, Darlin had won the debate, this was fundamental. And then I looked at the coverage that followed the debate a couple of days ago, and it's, well, this isn't really significant, this won't really affect the outcome. And I thought, God almighty, do they know what they're doing? It's so biased. And I think people, I've got to say, I think people won't be let them away with that. I've got to say, as a wee fill-up to it, where's my wee pamphlet here? Here it's here. As a wee fill-up, Paul, I think we have to try and go beneath the mainstream media. I think Ian's filming this meeting tonight, and hopefully he'll put it up on YouTube. We have to use the YouTube, we have to use the Twitter, we have to use the Facebook, we have to use text. Here's a wee example. This wee pamphlet's going to be on sale tonight. It's called Hope Over Fear. It's only £1, and Marty will try and liberate you from your pound. This was a speech that I made in Kirkcaldy the 23rd of January this year. 300 people turned up, brilliant night, and somebody filmed it and they put it up on YouTube. Since February, 146,000 people have watched it. 146,000 people. I think that shows you the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for the information. We've turned that speech into a pamphlet so that the facts and the figures and all the arguments are now at your fingertips. I think that shows, Paul, that even though the mainstream media has got a biased coverage of this debate, People are searching out the information for themselves. They're going beneath the mainstream media, they're going to the social media where they can get undiluted views and they can get some real facts and figures. All this stuff I've been reading out the right, that's all available, it's all resourced, it's all facts, you can check it all out. You're not getting it in the media. You're not getting these facts and figures in the media. So from my point of view, Paul, I think it's been a damn disgrace, but I don't think it's going to affect us because the opinion polls now show quite clearly, now, I think this last 3 weeks, I think this should maybe be our slogan. They show that if every yes voter can convince one more voter to vote yes, we're going to win. It's as simple as that, we're going to win. One more voter. That's all we need to convince, and we can win this referendum and set Scotland free. Yourself?
Hi Tommy, my name's Davina. The reason I came up is you spoke about, you said the word racist, so it sort of puts people off a bit. I'm anything but in the paper over the last few weeks, I keep seeing things about kids being raped, children that are being abused. There's nothing getting done about it. There's, especially all this stuff that's going on in Iraq, Al-Qaeda, and all this. It is frightening, it's worrying. It's only coming to light now. I've been hearing about it for the last year. My son's in the army and he's been telling me what's been happening. The European Union, they tell us, you can't stop these people coming back from these places. They've got human rights. But as far as I'm concerned, they're not human. If these guys can go over there and learn how to do war and come back here, their passports shouldn't even be allowed to get back here. How do you feel about that? Because the European Union are saying, oh, but they've got human rights, they're entitled to come back. I just heard on the radio the night, and it's a man in Dunfermline, a 21-year-old guy, raped a 13-year-old, and he got 5 years. He's ruined that kid's life.
Davina, I think you're in danger, if you don't mind me saying, of mixing up too many issues. Because the truth is, abuse of children isn't about any race or culture. It happens across the races and cultures. Let's look at the paedophilia that's been covered up for decades within the Houses of Parliament. White, predominantly middle-class men that have been abusing wee kiddies for years and getting away with it because of the cover-up. So just because there are instances of other races now being exposed for abusing kids, we've got to make sure that we don't tar everybody with the same brush. Because just because there's one white child abuser doesn't mean every white person is a child abuser, and just because there's one Asian child abuser doesn't mean every Asian is a child abuser. I think we have to bear that in mind. In relation to the other problems, in relation to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, can we take a wee step back for a moment and try and remember what things were like before we invaded these countries and Can we maybe take a deep breath? It wasn't that long ago we were all apparently we were pat them in the back, the British government, because they bombed Libya to smithereens and got rid of Gaddafi. Now the place is in bloody turmoil, anarchy. We've got a situation here where Britain thinks it's a world policeman. The reason I want Scotland to be independent is because I don't want us to be involved in a single other illegal war or invasion. To the wider question, every one of us can have different views, different visions. The yes tent is huge. We all want independence. Within the yes tent, there'll be differences of opinion, differences of emphasis about the future. For me, when it comes to the question, for instance, of immigration, here's my view. As an immigrant, my grandparents were both Irish and Italian. William McIlvanney is one of my favourite authors. He once described Scotland I think appropriately, as a mongrel nation. Why? Because we are made up of different races, different nationalities, different creeds, different colours. I think in an independent Scotland, when we are creating more jobs, building more houses, investing more in education, investing more in health, I want an independent Scotland, not to build new barriers to working class folk from anywhere in the world who want to come and live and work here. I want to knock down existing barriers, and instead of a fist of fury, I want to offer a hand of friendship to anybody that wants to come and live and work. From my point of view, in an independent Scotland, folks, I want us to remember one thing, regardless of colour, regardless of creed, regardless of religion, we're all part of one race, the human race, and it's about time we remember that. A chap down the front here, Tony, and because the mic's not working, we'll just fire away.
My name is Daniel.
Daniel.
My one person I'm trying to convince is my sister.
That's what I would say to you, from a positive point of view. Think to you, get her going businesses for independence website. Why are 2,500 small businesses supporting independence? Is it because they think it's going to be a bad idea? They know it's going to be a good idea, so I would encourage you to do that more. Yourself?
Sheridan for independent Scotland. The main construction companies in Scotland like that. So all the Calvine and Co. will need to adhere to employment laws. So that's the agency I'm using, blacklisted construction companies.
Neil's asked a great question in the front here, folks. I don't know if you caught the gist of it, but he was talking about construction companies in particular and how they are now super exploiting workers in the construction industry. Many of you are in the construction industry will know this. Those of you that won't know this. But because of the decline of the trade unions, because of the way they've smashed trade union representation, particularly across the construction industry, blacklisting workers, sacking anybody that raises their voice, shop stewards and trade union members, they are getting away with literal exploitation, the likes of which they haven't seen since the 1920s. They're hiring and firing, they're paying people, making them self-employed so they don't have a contract of employment, they don't have any holiday entitlements, they don't have any sickness pay, and they are able to abuse all sort of health and safety regulations. As part of an independent Scotland, we're going to have a written constitution. A written constitution. Part of that constitution is going to be the health services enshrined as a public service. Another part of that constitution is it's going to be a fundamental right of that constitution to join a trade union, and to be recognised in the principle. That's why the McAlpines of the world are opposed to independence, because they know that in independent Scotland they're not going to get away with the same exploitation that they're getting away with now. For instance, here's a very, very important one. Construction industry is full of this, and it turns worker against worker all the time. Why don't we employ somebody from Lithuania, from Poland, from another European Union country who is as skilled as the Scottish brickier, the Scottish plumber, or the Scottish joiner, but the construction companies think, well, wait a minute, we can pay them less. So we'll bring them over and we'll displace the indigenous workers and we'll employ them and we'll make their money. Problem is, the workers, instead of venting their anger against the bosses, they end up fighting among themselves. That's what the whole thing's about, isn't it? Getting us all to fight among ourselves. See if we have got the legal minimum living wage across the industry, so that nobody can be paid below that. That cuts across the ability for these people to sack indigenous workers and get somebody in cheaper, because it will become illegal to do it. That's what we've got to look forward to in an independent Scotland. On you go, Rob.
I'm a lifelong people who support them, open their eyes and say, you vote Labour, you are voting for the very things that you just spoke to before me, and we must shame these people because they are the obstacle to independence, not the benefits that are handed to me.
What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary, I think it's dead important that we understand. It's why I made that point at the start of my contribution, that we understand what this referendum's about, and that it's not about the nationalists. It's not about Alex Salmon. It's not about the SNP. The Better Together campaign, in particular the Labour Party, what do they say all the time? The nationalists say this, the nationalists say that, Salmon says this, Salmon says that. You go into the ballot box, you get a wee bit of paper. I seen one on Facebook today. Do you think Scotland should be an independent country? Yes or no? There is no Salmon. There is no SNP. There is no other political party. It is a damn disgrace and it's distortion of the worst kind to try and make this argument into a popularity contest between political parties. This is about vision. This is about principles. This is about saying to the Labour Party, you have to accept the working class has not abandoned the Labour Party. The Labour Party has abandoned the working class. And I think there is clearly shifting sands now. When I spoke at Blantyre Miners Welfare Overflow meeting, traditional Labour supporting area, spoke at the ex-servicemen club in Kelty, Overflow, traditional Labour supporting areas. People are recognising, hey, wait a wee minute, why are these people in bed with the Tories? It's a damn disgrace. They should hold their heads in shame. Hold their heads in shame. I would appeal to Labour supporters, traditional Labour supporters, think why you're a traditional Labour supporter. Because you believe in values, you believe in principles, you believe in public services, you believe in public ownership, you believe in redistribution of wealth, you believe in fairness, and you used to believe in unilateral nuclear disarmament. I listened to Darlin the other night coming back from Dunbar. I listened to him on the radio. This is a guy who I remember when his beard was black, when he was at the Labour Party conferences. He was a member then of the International Socialists as well. He was on the extreme left of the Labour Party. And I remember him calling for unilateral nuclear disarmament. I heard him the other night talking about we need to keep nuclear weapons because of jobs. Never mind the principle of nuclear weapons. And then never mind the fact that instead of a few hundred jobs, which is reliant on Trident, we could create tens of thousands of jobs by spending that money on socially useful production. They have fallen so far, Brian, so far, they should be ashamed of themselves. Here Hardy, with Berlin in his grave, at what they do. No, tell me. Yeah, my name's John. Hi, John.
There's going to be economic consequences, as we know. The London backlash is going to be immense. Any other views on this?
John, it's a very good point there because I don't know if you've noticed, particularly if you're on the social media, you'll have seen it, or if you buy some of the London-based newspapers, you'll have seen it. Apparently, there's now a growing swathe of opinion in England. I don't think it's among ordinary people, but there's a growing swathe of opinion in England that Scotland should be punished for this referendum. On the basis of a no vote, they're saying we should have reduced funding. Now that's no surprise to us, is it? They're going to smell the blood. They're going to see a wounded animal if we vote no the 18th of September. They're going to come after the Barnett formula. They're going to come after the funding that I talked about earlier. There's no doubt. See if you want a comparison. Think about this for a moment. 1979, the rigged devolution referendum. Remember it? I don't know if some of you remember it. Well, Scotland was asked, do you want devolution? 51% said yes. We didn't get it. Why? Because of the 40% rule introduced by a Labour MP, oh no, it has to be 40% say yes of all of the electorate. See if you introduce that in the House of Parliament, we don't have any MPs, by the way. You know, we don't have any MPs. But the reality is they rigged that devolution referendum. What then happened? We got punished, didn't we? We got punished for what Thatcher did to us throughout the 80s. Think what they're going to do is, if we don't seize this opportunity now, they're going to punish us.
My name is Dougie. I'm kind of interested in the flip side of that. If it is a yes, which is kind of what we're talking about, how we maintain this level of momentum, this level of participation in politics and in the, I don't know, people sharing ideas and actually work together with Better Together campaigns to actually build a better Scotland.
Dougie, wasn't it?
Aye.
Dougie's just asked if everybody can hear that. How are we going to maintain the momentum after the yes vote to make sure that this energy that we've awoken, this dynamism that we've stirred, because I think we've awakened Scotland. I don't know, but I'm not going to ask you, right? But when I go across all these meetings, I keep saying, how many of you have been at public meetings before? And very few people have been at public meetings. This is, for a lot of people, the first time they've been at public meetings. That is an awakening of consciousness, political consciousness, and an interest in how your country is run. We can't go to sleep on September 19th. I think we have to underline here, independence is not a destination. Independence is only the beginning of the journey. The beginning of the journey of transforming Scotland into a fair, more equal, progressive country. We need to make sure people stay involved. I think politics, between September 19th and the March 2016 election, I think it's going to be vibrant, I think it's going to be energised, I think there's going to be a lot of political realignment. After everything I said about the Labour Party earlier, let me state what I think is one of the ironies of this campaign. I think the one party that may stand to gain most from independence is the Labour Party. Because the Labour Party after independence can't be the Labour Party before independence. It has to change. It has to transform itself, or else it will become as extinct as the dodo. So from the point of view of the Labour Party, it's going to have to rediscover its principles, rediscover what it used to stand for, public ownership, redistribution of wealth. The trade unions are going to have to get involved in that. So between September 19th and March of 2016, you might see a rejuvenated new Labour Party. You might see various strands of the SNP, because the SNP as a party has got many, many political strands within it. It's a left of centre party, there's no doubt about it. But there are some people in that party that are quite happy with capitalism and big business. There are other members of the SNP who are socialists for me. So that party might be under strain after independence to maybe have a different formation. Whatever happens, I think it's going to be vibrant, I think it's going to be colourful, and I think the menu, the political menu on offer to the people of Scotland is going to be very, very tasty. We'll try and take maybe 2 or 3 more contributions, folks. I appreciate everybody did the breakfast in the bag, so we don't want to keep everybody here all night. So, yourself,
my name's Mark. After independence, the British government says, how have we got to defend ourselves? Well, the way I look at it is, they decimated the Scottish troops every year. They've even got a Scottish regiment stationed in Ireland who don't want to be in Ireland, they want to be back home. What's your view on that and bringing the Scottish forces back across the border?
My view, Mark, is very much that there will be a need in Scotland for a Scottish Defence Force. There's no doubt about that. We've got oil installations, we've got our economic interests. I don't want an army that is able to invade anybody. I want an army that can defend us in case we're invaded, right? And I don't know anybody that's going to invade us, right? I don't see anybody lining up, you know, we're going to take Scotland's reign, you know. I don't see it. I want a Scottish Defence Force that is able to do that very basic minimum of defend their shores, defend their economic installations. I think there is more chance of Scottish regiments being safe with a Holyrood government than there is with a Westminster government, because I think the Westminster government couldn't give a damn whether they're Scottish regiments or not. But here's something else I want to throw into the mix. As somebody who's a peace campaigner, you'll probably expect me not to be a big armed service individual. I want to tell you this wee story about a wee chap called Gordon, who was 19 years of age, used to help me with my leaflets in Pollock, used to deliver all the council leaflets and the parliament leaflets for us. He was a lovely young guy, he was unemployed, we done at the government job centre, and he was sent on a catering course to become a cook, trainee cook, and he hated it, just didn't have any interest in becoming a cook. So next time he done the government job centre, the army had a recruitment table there, and they promised him if he signed up for the army, he would get an HGV licence within 6 months, and then he would be employable for then on, and he would always have a job because of his HGV licence. Gordon signed up. 6 months later, he was sent to Basra. Gordon's no longer with us. Gordon Jettle was blown up in Basra. And Gordon Jettle was blown up, and I want to highlight this point. Blown up in an armoured service personnel carrier that didn't have a reinforced steel floor. He was blown up by an improvised explosive device that the MOD had been warned about prior to the invasion. We can afford £100 billion for nuclear weapons, but we couldn't afford reinforced metal floors for armoured personnel carriers for young kids going to Basra in Iraq. He shouldn't have been there. We know that. We know that it was an illegal and an immoral invasion. But see, if you're going to send young working class kids to these conflicts, at least send them with equipment that can keep them as safe as possible. I want, in an independent Scotland, I want the Gordon Gentles of the future to be able to get HGV licences, to be able to become joiners and plumbers and mechanics and engineers in civilian street, not by joining the army. That's what I want in an independent. Maybe two more contributions, folks. Two more questions to chat at the back end. Thanks very much. Just very quickly on that point that Stephen's made there, you know, there are still 100 of us, and we are still fighting, as the Declaration of Arbroath asked us to do. It is important to bear in mind, because some people say, oh, this debate, it's not about culture, it's not about nationality, it's not about passion. It's about statistics, it's about the economy, it's about standard of living. Brothers and sisters, I disagree. I think it's about all these things. I think it's about everything. I think it is about culture. I think it is about passion. I think it is about having national pride. Not chauvinism. Not chauvinism. We're no better than anybody across the world. But nobody's better than us either. And I, as a socialist, I get angry when I hear other socialists talk about the need to defend Cuba, to defend Venezuela, and, in my opinion, a very, very important position that I've adopted all my life, to declare for an independent Palestinian state. I think what I don't understand from these fellow socialists is why it's okay for Cuba, whom I love, Venezuela, who I'm proud to have visited and met with Hugo Chavez before his untimely death, Palestine, who are the victims of genocide from Israel, which is a terror state. I think if it's all right for those countries who have national fervour, to have national passion, to have a belief in nationhood, but still be internationalists, then why is it okay for Scotland to be independent and still be an internationalist country? That's what I say to you. Two more questions. Yourself, Rob? Did you just your hand up? You want to say something? Oh, you just want to talk. One more question and we'll finish, folks.
I just want to finish on for you, Tommy. I'm Barry. And have you had the chance to see last night's Bit Up Together referendum broadcast? What do you think of it?
Do you know, folks, I actually only saw the snippet that was on, I think it was the 2014 thing, because I was speaking last night in Dumbarton. Can't remember, it was Dumbarton, I think the night before, Dumbarton last night. So when I got in, I watched the 2016 programme and it had a wee summary of this Bitter Together broadcast, and how horribly artificial it is. You know, this so-called ordinary woman who's an actress, right away, so there you go, how horrible. And then we're supposed to believe that she genuinely was undecided, but then in the space of 2.5 seconds, she becomes a no voter. Come on, how patronising is that? How absolutely patronising. I mean,
It should be in the kitchen.
exactly. And then, the only thing my wife Gail threw into the mix enough was it was a messy kitchen, so that was the only thing that was realistic with the whole bloody video. Folks, can I thank each and every one of you for being so patient, for being so polite. Oh, sorry. No, Alice, I'm going to finish. Oh, quick. This is my wall, by the way, so once
armed forces and the nationalised independent Scotland, nationalised, you say whatever, nationalised. But I believe we should pursue the right of armed forces to belong to trade unions, and also the police to belong to trade unions. Because I think if we'd had the armed forces and trade unions, you wouldn't have had that and even more than that.
It's going to be absolutely no surprise to you that I agree with my mom. You probably realise where I get my politics from now. Folks, as I was saying there, I do want to thank you for being so polite and such a wonderful audience. It's been great. I really take my hat off to you. And I'd never met you before. We converse on Twitter. The wonderful thing about this tour that I've been doing, I hardly know the people that I'm going to speak at. I speak to them on Twitter or Facebook and they say, can you come here, can you come there? And I turn up in a meeting for the first time. It shows you that although there are a lot of negative things about social media, there's still a lot of positive things as well. And it is dead important to undermine the point that Ian made, but the grassroots nature of this campaign, how it's ordinary with people from the grassroots up, that isn't getting reflected in these opinion polls. Isn't getting reflected, folks. I want to finish, I always like to have wee quotations to try and send this home with a wee bit of inspiration. I hope that those of you who came here the night as yes voters, that you're not going away as yes voters, that you're going away 2 feet taller as yes campaigners, as yes ambassadors, as yes crusaders. I hope those of you who came along undecided, I hope you've heard some stuff that's maybe going to sway you. Those of you who came along as no voters, I feel sorry for you. Please at the very least think again. The great, late Nelson Mandela once said, may your life's choices be guided by hope, not by fear. I say that today. Politician, I want to finish finish with, brothers and sisters, is Malcolm X. Some of you may have heard of Malcolm X. He was a member and a founder member of the Black Panther Party in the United States of America when blacks didn't have any rights. Blacks were only allowed to sit in buses, use the same toilets, sit in restaurants, didn't have the vote. Malcolm X and many people like him were brave enough to fight the mighty power of America to get rights for black citizens. He paid with his life, unfortunately. He was assassinated for standing up for citizenship for blacks. But Malcolm X once said, and it's something I think should inspire us, he said, if you don't stand for something, you might just fall for anything. Brothers and sisters, let's together stand for a new, a better, a fairer, more progressive Scotland. Let's stand for freedom. Thanks very much.